atop Mount Manitoba. I'm back. I'm back in my home court. It's the Hall of Fame show. And I'm your host, Kirk Buchner, and I'm with Evan Nolan. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay. It's decided to snow again here.
Yeah.
Just when I thought winter was over, we've had like almost no snow. And
Wait,
now we have like it's actually really dangerous snowball snow. Like it packs really well, but if you got hit with it, it would really freaking hurt.
well,
Um,
you've got to come up to the kinder weather of Winnipeg.
yeah, that's usually what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yes.
But we've had almost no snow here in Chicago this whole winter. So
It's been pretty nice out here, but yeah, it's well, I'm Kirk Buchner. Evan,
you
we
are.
won NotInHallOfFame.com, the fictitious athlete Hall of Fame. We're finally going to announce that next week, I promise. The fictitious rock and roll Hall of Fame, and the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, where you can vote right now. Do it, do it now. And we're not going to call you partisan. Well, we might, but we're not going to hate you no matter who you vote for. We don't care.
I don't care. No.
No, you really don't. And you go on www.nothalloffame.com/USA. And it's for the United States Athletic Hall of Fame. And it's pretty goddamn cool because we trademarked that very thing, the United States Athletic Hall of Fame,
Mhm.
where you can vote on who you think is the greatest American athlete ever. And this is going to be in perpetuity. It's pretty cool.
Mhm.
It took us to figure this out. Who knew?
It took this podcast. It actually took my death rattle to figure out because we had someone who was in the Canadian National Hall of Fame and the Australian National Hall of Fame back to back who died. We're like, I wonder what's up with the U.S. National Hall of Fame, and then we realized there wasn't one. So,
Well,
so thank you, dead people.
well, there you go. Well, speaking of dead people, my dad died, and
Yeah,
okay,
that's
well,
not,
I'm trying to.
that's not the way I was going for this. But go ahead,
No,
continue.
I know, but I mean, I have something here with me that I thought you'd get a kick out of because I took a bunch of stuff when I was over there. Uh,
Okay.
and for those I love my dad. Just watch how I did last week, but like it's been a week removed, and I'm just back to my.
And at least you're in a situation where your dad had the opportunity to decide how he wanted to go out.
Yes.
I mean, he's a situation where he was in pain, and because of the laws of Canada, he didn't have to be in pain anymore. Like you said, that last 36 hours, he was pretty happy.
Yeah, knowing that there was an end because basically he would have just only probably lived another 72 hours from what we were told. But
Mm.
anyway, here's what I brought back. So I thought you'd get a kick out of this here. There's a picture of me, in case you didn't know had a German background. So here's me in Lederhosen with my finger up my
Wow.
nose.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. I don't have lederhosen. I do have an Austrian hiking hat. I did spend a summer in Austria hiking the Alps with family friend at one point when I was 14, but I don't have any lederhosen, unfortunately.
Yeah, which my parents put in a frame.
Hey, best picture they have of you as a child.
Probably. Probably. But there's that. So I thought you'd get a kick out of that. So I had that sort of on the ready.
Excellent.
Just in case. Well, here's something that we're also ready for. It's always betting season. It's the World Baseball Classic. Baseball's also coming back and like full and foremost. And if you want to be an expert bettor, like I am not, but I'm trying to be. There's a way to sort of do that with all the companies that you bet with. So be it William Hill, be it Bet888, Bet365, Cool Bets, it goes on and on and on.
Mhm.
But you always want to shop for the best line possible. That's what I want to try to do, especially if you think, I don't know, maybe Canada can win the whole thing in the World Baseball Classic. Maybe not.
I don't know. I think the U.S. is a batting champion of the major leagues, batting ninth. So that might be a problem for the rest of the world.
Now that's also I'm gonna bring back the poo poo platter later, but I'm gonna go into that because I'm gonna
Sure
go
enough.
with a little mini rant, and you know me well enough to know where I'm gonna go with this as soon as I start. But BetStamp, our sponsor of the not Hall of the Hall of Fame show, can help you with that. So with that, you can just sort of like line shop all in one simple app. It's pretty cool. Just download on your phone right now. Do it now. Do it. Help us. Help us. Please. Please. We're struggling here. Please. Uh, but don't download BetStamp with the promo code Buck25. Buck, Oh, there you go. Yes. Oh, look at that. Buck and
Like an
25.
old screensaver bouncing around.
There you go. Bounce from back and forth, left to right. And if you're gonna be a sports gambler, this is the way to do it. And
Sure.
you can do so much with that. You can actually follow
And
expert gamblers.
and there are only two things I bet on every single year outside of our stuff we do with beer. I bet on my fantasy football, and I bet this next month on
Mhm.
the NCAA tournament.
I don't know
Only
why
thing I
we
bet
sort
on
of
all year.
open up with that. I mean, like that's sort of that's it's sort of what's going on right now. But
Yeah.
you can do that on BetStamp. But I've been more excited than I thought, and I'm just going to bring a return before we go to the Hall of Fame stuff portion of everything that we usually do,
Mhm.
which is my smorgasbord of poo poo of shit, the poo poo platter. So I've been fascinated with the World Baseball Classic, perhaps more than I have in a while. Maybe I just needed more of a distraction than usual. And I
Mhm.
get a kick. So let me just say that I do enjoy that. There's some cool atmosphere watching games in Taiwan. Ooh, am I allowed to say the word Taiwan? Is that okay? I don't know.
Chinese Taipei for those of our listeners over in the Far East.
Yeah, whatever. Uh, but it's been a lot of fun. Like the first game that they showed was the Netherlands versus Cuba, which
Mhm.
was in Taiwan, maybe attended by 1,000 people. And I try to think, man, we just watched the World Cup.
Mhm.
And if they try to make that as their opener, just make your Taiwan game your opener. Just do
Mhm.
that. Or do it South Korea, do it Japan, do it in the US, do it in Puerto Rico, do it in Dominican. Don't put two teams that are good baseball countries. I know it's the Netherlands, but it's really Curacao, but whatever.
Right.
Uh, put them in a neutral place, thousands upon thousands of miles away, and say, well, here's our opener.
Mhm.
Morons. Also, too, thank you, World Baseball Classic, for putting me in a position where me, as the grandson of a German soldier in a certain war that we don't generally talk about, where I have to cheer against Israel. Why do I do cheer against Israel, Evan? Why?
You hate Mike Piazza?
That'd be Italy, but no.
No, he was the coach of Israel at
I
one
was head
point.
coach of Italy.
I was Israel as well. Anyway, continue.
Well, okay, both I countries are apropos in this case because here we have Italy, who's in the World Cup or World Baseball Classic, and Israel in the World Baseball Classic.
Mhm.
Combined, the amount of players who were actually born in those countries are this: zero. Not one, zero.
Mm.
Okay, so these teams, both of them, are comprised of American players who are some are decent. I mean, obviously, some are major leaguers on both. Israel, I believe, finished sixth in the last one,
Okay.
or the one before, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Right. But again, we have Team Italy. Do any of them have not only I mean, I know they're not from Italy. Have they even ever been there? Probably
They ate
not.
at a Pizza Hut once.
And Israel's even worse.
Mm.
I know that they're probably don't have ancestors from there. It's a lot less
Mm.
likely. History tells me that that's probably true, considering that Israel became a country in, I believe, 48, 47.
48. 48 is correct.
Okay, thank you. And generally, there wasn't a whole lot of people going to Israel and then coming out, right?
Sure. Can't say I know the migration patterns, but that makes sense.
Right. So now we basically have an ethnic group. Okay. What if they win?
They won't.
What if they do? It's a what? It's you're playing. Get to the playoffs. It's a one-off.
Hmm.
Do the people of Italy even know they're in this? Do the people of Israel even know they're in this? The answer is no and no.
Mm.
This is not necessary. Do not do this because you're
They have to, though.
no, they don't.
Yes, they do,
Okay,
because
why?
baseball's trying to get back as an Olympic sport. And the reason they got dropped as Olympic sport is because not enough countries in the world play it, meaning no European countries really play baseball. That's what the Olympics mean on that, because there's tons of countries that play it, all the Americas
Mhm.
through Asia and stuff like that. The
Okay.
draw from the Urals to Portugal and straight down. Nobody plays from that part of the world, but there are other places in the world that play it. They need to have an Italian team. They need to have other teams from other countries, even if they don't play it and nobody's from there, in an effort to try and make themselves an actual Olympic sport again, which
But
is a big thing for them.
but the WBC doesn't follow the same rules as the Olympics.
Okay.
So none of those. So the people representing Team Italy, or Team Israel right now, or Team Australia, or really any country for that matter, they would have to sort of like participate not in a major league for any of this to occur. Not a single one of these players representing Italy. Okay, I don't know for sure all of them, probably almost all of them, would be in a qualifier to get into the Olympics. None of them.
Understood.
Like, yeah. So it's not happening. And again, and that's a very good point you brought up. I didn't think of that. Uh, Saying that, I don't know that Olympic baseball really means anything if you're not sending your best players anyway. Nobody cares. So
Yeah.
I just think that you've got enough good countries that you don't need to sort of like have USA 2, USA 3, USA 4
Mm-hmm.
is really where I'm going with that more than anything.
Understood. Yeah, I got that part.
Because that waters shit down. Because this is the same thing I said when they had the World Cup of Hockey and they had two bullshit teams. The
Mm-hmm.
Canada USA combined team of players under 23 and Team Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, what if they won? Europe made the finals.
They did.
They made the finals. So let's say they win. Are the people in Germany going nuts because Leon Draisaitl won a gold medal in the World Cup while not representing Germany? Nope. You don't do a goddamn thing for that sport.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. This only works in one thing and one thing only: the Ryder Cup.
Mm-hmm. And the America's Cup, if you care about sailing.
I didn't think of that. Okay, that's a very good one. I was trying to
I,
segue.
I wrote something on Dennis Conner, so that was my thought on that.
Okay. Well, I was
Yeah.
trying to segue because we do have a Hall of Fame to talk about, but you kind of derailed me.
Sorry. I
No,
just saying,
no,
yeah.
no. I mean, you're like Pete Buttigieg. You didn't really pay attention to my derailment here. But
I
sorry.
don't. I he paid attention. The governor of Ohio thought everything was fine, and then like they always do in Ohio, any environmental problem they have, they just light on fire. So
For a show that's trying not to be political, I'm really failing miserably.
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah,
So
and Evan will
Brad,
tell you, guys, I'm equal opportunity. I hate you all.
that's true. He hates everybody. He barely tolerates me. We've never in the same room. We've known each other like sort of for over a decade at this point,
And we've
he,
never even, I can't even be in the same country as you.
yeah, as far as I know. So, all right. So let's talk about the World Golf Hall of Fame, which is what you're trying to get to.
Yeah, World Golf. So that's sort of the biggest Hall of Fame related news. And I find it kind of curious they've announced the class of 2024 now.
Yeah. Did we ever cover the Tennis Hall of Fame when that came out?
No, because we've been sort of, well,
we'll get to that in a second. Let's talk golf. I keep interrupting you. So let's go.
no, it's
golf.
good. It's good. Okay, so if you've got that queued, I'd love to talk about that. There's pretty much, I'm not that familiar with a lot of these people, but I'll just go through them. One I'm very familiar with, and one is part of a group that I think is awesome that they're finally getting around to this.
Mm-hmm.
So the 2024 class, Johnny Farrell, USA, won 22 tournaments, but representing 3 Ryder Cups, 27, 29, and 1931. So I guess it didn't say.
You're older than me. How was that?
Thank you. Well, I mean, like all the clubs were still wooden, but the TV reception wasn't that good because there was no TV. But we tried. So somebody was just sort of like yelling over the mountain and just saying 4.
Golf was like Charlie McCarthy, wooden and white.
There you go. Beverly Hansen, United States, 17 tournament wins, notably the 1955 LPGA, 1950 U.S. Amateur. So let's go through a couple others before I get to who I think is the main event and what I think is fascinating. Sandra Palmer, another American, 19 wins, 75 Women's Open, and she was the LPGA Player of the Year. And Tom Weiskopf won the 1973 Open, two-time Ryder Cup competitor. But the main event to me as a single is Padraig Harrington from Ireland, from your old neck of the woods. If we go back in your lineage,
Mhm.
from 2007 2008, he was probably the best international player for a 2 year period. Seven-time Ryder Cup captain, which is I don't need to say any more than that.
Mhm.
He's the only person who got in on his first year of eligibility. So if they go by, and I think if they go by how headliners would work, he would probably be it. But I'm
Mhm.
more fascinated by a group, and maybe because I just watched or rewatched again. Uh, Crap, I forget the name of the movie, but it's the one with Billie Jean King versus Bobby Riggs, right? Where Billie Jean King and the other women sort of form their own tennis tour.
Yep.
So it's the 13 founders of the LPGA. So basically, I don't know,
Six of whom were already in.
six of whom are already in, including somebody who is a nominee for our inaugural class of the United States Athletic Hall of Fame, Babe Didrikson Saharius.
Who is one of
So
my big pushes, just so
you are
everybody.
huge on that one. I'm sort of meandering off here, but am I correct that is that your most wanted female for this? Or
Uh, Probably her and Martina Navratilova are
okay,
my top two.
all
But
right.
I'd say Gabe Dudikson Harris was just so ridiculous in so many things and so ahead of her time on everything, and then died super young.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, she's there, and I mean Althea Gibson's also there. I mean, there are a few track and field people, but I just worry that Babe Zaharias is or Babe D Dixon. Then she got married to last name Zaharias. I just worried she's going to get lost somewhere in the
Right.
shuffle here. So anyway, continue.
No, that could happen. So, the LPGA hasn't really progressed maybe how they should have, but it's still a very important part of sports.
Mhm.
We've got a couple female golfers who are part of our potential first class,
Mhm.
and it's a great sport. So I was studying a bit more about these women, how they sort of like progress through that, and I think that's sort of a big deal. Uh, how the sport will progress later. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I've said before this many times, I find it fascinating that women in mixed martial arts is pretty damn big
Mhm.
and has eclipsed this. I don't know how that happened, but it did,
Mhm.
despite the massive head start. But uh, people like what people like.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So what you're saying is there were 13 original members,
mhm,
seven of whom had not been in before. So originally in Patty Berg, Marlene Haggy, Babe Didrikson Saharius. Let me make sure I'm right. Uh, uh, Marilyn Smith, Louise Suggs, and I think Betty Jameson.
mhm.
Yes, so those six are already in. So we added Alice Bauer, Betty Danoff, Helen Detweiler, Helen Hicks, Opal Hill, Sally Sessions, and Shirley Spork, who has one of the more, four names of anybody. She was a Spork before the Spork was invented. So
Hmm. So if she was competing now, so she'd be spork wearing a squirt. No, all right, I got no,
yeah, right.
I got
It,
nothing
it,
more
it
to
was
say.
it was a valiant attempt. I'm gonna give you credit for trying that one. So
I didn't prep that one, which was very
yeah,
obvious.
no, we shouldn't have. But anyway, so yeah, Patty Harrington, Tom Weiskopf is a name I know. I'm not a particularly big follower of golf.
Mhm.
Uh, I agree with Tom that with Mark Twain that is a good day's walk wasted. Um, but it's certainly somebody who I'm a name I'm familiar with. It's not like someone pulled out of nowhere,
Mhm.
and it makes sense for them to finally honor the rest of the founders of the LPGA. It's like they put Ralph Hay in for the NFL Hall of Fame, which they'll never ever do apparently. So,
Now that I think about it, did they do this on International Women's Day?
was this yesterday?
I think so.
International Women's Day was yesterday, I believe.
I think this came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Not that Evan and I are trying to be sort of like hyper woke or anything like that, but it is kind of cool, and
I
it's
don't have to try to be, man. I just am.
there you go. There's a couple names that sort of have very significant franchise related news. One sort of near and dear to my heart, and that's Jose Bautista, who will be entering the Toronto Blue Jays level of excellence. Bautista did not have the most famous home run in Blue Jays history. That will forever be Joe Carter. But he had the best bat flip in history. Bautista's home run against Texas, just sort of doing that is emphatic. Bautista is probably the only guy that I will go to the grave saying, I know his numbers look like a steroid user, but he's not.
Fair enough.
Like size didn't change, and you can just sort of like take a look at his swing thing. Everything, just somebody who clicked at the right time eventually. So congratulations to Bautista. I know they've got a spot because they removed Alomar. So
yeah.
So that should be sort of easy to fill. And one that I thought was really cool, I was watching that live on television. Pau Gasol, who is
12th player to have his number retired by the Lakers. That's one place the Celtics still lead the Lakers greatly. The Celtics are currently at 22.
Is that including 5 letters?
22 people. Losky. Okay. No one else can have the nickname of Losky in the history of the Boston Celtics. So the Celtics are 22. There's only the 12th for the Lakers. So,
and guess usually the Lakers wait until someone gets into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Gasol is up right now. It's his first year on the ballot. Of course, we don't know who's voting for it, so maybe they already know something we don't.
It's totally possible.
Saying that, I
Adam Silver, David Stern's ghost, and Stu Jackson.
There you go. But it's really sort of nice. He's like right next to Kobe's. It should be Kobe might be linked a little bit more with Shaquille O'Neal, but his best dance partner always was Pau Gasol.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Vanessa Bryant was there or said something. I'm not sure, but it was really sort of like nice to watch. Pau Gasol is like one of the most important basketball players in many ways because of what he sort of like brought into the whole European thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Kendrick Perkins, but that's true. If you've sort of been watching what this idiot said.
Yeah, Kendrick Perkins said, yeah.
When you got dunked on by JJ Redick.
Yeah.
Because he did. And for those wondering what we're talking about, all right, I'm going to go.
Yeah, go ahead. Perk basically said that any white MVP that has won recently hasn't deserved it.
His stat to back that up is, and it's an interesting one, I suppose, is that Nowitzki, Nash, and Jokic all won the MVP while being the only players to not finish in the top 10 in scoring. Okay. Then who should have won in those years, Kendrick? Who? Who would it have been? I mean, especially when I look at Nowitzki, whose best teammate was Devin Harris, in the shell of Jerry Stackhouse, took Dallas to only 16 losses.
Mm-hmm. Best player in the best team. That happens all the time.
Exactly.
Which is why I had the Celtics have faltered recently, but if the Celtics had finished in first overall, Jason Tatum's odds of winning the MVP were significantly better than they are if they finish second in the conference.
Right, which is sort of like why Jokic is now on pace for that third one, because Denver's playing over their head, and his best teammate is Jamal Murray, who I like.
Jamal Murray is very good, but Jamal Murray is not going to the Hall of Fame.
Right, he's not. So, I mean, this isn't that hard. I don't know if it was Perkins who said this or it was someone else. Said, well, it must be nice if I was a European white guy, I'd be the MVP. Okay, yeah, maybe. You also wouldn't have any national endorsements like none of these guys have.
Mm-hmm. And I would also like to point out that pretty much if Tatum doesn't win the MVP, the other three people we're talking about, Jokic, Giannis, and Embiid, none
Mhm.
of them are Americans.
Well, Embiid, I mean, like, well, I can make a case for any one of those guys.
100%.
I,
Embiid finished second 2 years in a row, and all the Phillies fans thinks he gets no respect. I'm sorry. Like,
I predict I predicted him at the start of the year as this year's MVP, which still could happen.
still could happen, 100%.
Uh, stat wise, Embiid is slightly behind Jokic if you want to go in terms of advanced stats, which is a bigger thing push, bigger push for that. If Denver is maybe 10 games worse, then it's Embiid. Embiid also missed a few games. Jokic hasn't.
True. And Embiid is also playing with James Harden. I know not the peak James Harden, but James Harden's a Hall of Famer. And Jokic
better this year. A lot better this year than he was last year.
Yeah, I watched the entirety of the Philly Milwaukee game, the one game Milwaukee's lost in the last year and a half. The other day, and that was the best I have seen. I hate the way Harden plays basketball. I just hate it. I hate his style of basketball.
Especially on one half of the court.
Yeah, and that's the least I've been annoyed by him, and the best I think he's played since I've been aware of him as a player.
Yeah, so I mean, like Perkins, Reddick was right, like in that. Okay, you've got to come up with something. You got to come up with something, and like, what did Jalen Rose give you his trash? Another trash take. I mean, Jalen Rose, who said like,
I mean, JJ Redick should know a trash take. So
sure,
Bob Cousy still owns him. Like as JJ Redick's like, Bob Cousy, all these guys are playing against plumbers and stuff. Well, the reason guys were plumbers was they weren't paid enough, so they had to get second jobs. Dave Cowens in the '70s used to drive a cab in the off season to make extra money. So it's not like this is a new thing. And as Cousy pointed out, who is still alive and about to be 95 years old, you know what you would call JJ Redick when Cousy played?
What did he say?
A fan.
But Reddick was right. Reddick was completely right. And Reddick, and to your point, yeah, Reddick was somebody who sort of like suffers from that too. You're on these big networks. You got to come up with something. It's the Skip Bayless effect, and even borrowing that from like from the world of academia. I remember as a kid, I'm asking my dad, it's like, how come every other week there's one study that I'm hearing that says eggs are good, and the next someone says eggs are bad? Because someone's got to publish something to get. Yeah, this is no different. And Kendrick, when your argument is, I'm just spitting facts. The fact that you were that defensive tells me all I need to know. You have no clue what you were talking about, and you didn't even believe it. When you're that defensive that quickly, take the L, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah, but his whole thing is that he just says stuff. So even as someone who loved him when he was on my team,
and I would too if he was there after, for sure.
But I think I've said before, I have 31 rules of life. Rule 29 is if you have to repeat something in order for people to believe it, it's probably not true. If you just have to keep saying it over and over and over again, I'm sorry. So
yeah.
But anyway,
and that's just not something that we need right now. But at least like that was one great thing, is that virtually everyone universally thought that he was an idiot. So you did bring us all together. Thank you, Kirk.
That is true. There was one more in the NBA I'm sure we're going to get to later, a couple actually. But we should just cover the tennis hall because we didn't get a chance with
please go ahead.
Everything else. So we did have two people who were inducted, both wheelchair tennis folks. So 8-time Paralympian medalist, Esther Vergeer of the Netherlands, and quad wheelchair tennis pioneer Rick Draney were elected to the Tennis Hall of Fame, International Tennis Hall of Fame. They look at wheelchair tennis once every 4 years. This is a year for that. So they're the 6th and 7th wheelchair tennis inductees. Join Brad Parks, Randy Snow, Chantal. Good luck on this one for me. Vandy Rendonk, David Hall, and they were welcomed on the court at the ABN AMRO Open back at the end of February by Hall of Famer Monique Coleman Vandenbosch, who's also wheelchair.
Well, you get one Dutch name right, but not the other.
Well, Vandenbosch is understandable.
Yeah.
Like Van Dierendonk is like some combination of like it just basically like a hick trying to spell Van Beesbrook is what it looks like to me. Vandierendonck. That is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 letters. Not wouldn't be the longest in the in Major League Baseball history, but close.
Yeah, Pauline's got a friend or coworker named Elizabeth Van Hub, but I don't know what the hell. I just call her Elizabeth Hoobastank, Van Hoobastank. Elizabeth Van Honky Tonk, Elizabeth Van Hoopity
Yeah,
Doopity. I can't pronounce the damn thing.
Yeah, it's like Benedict Cumberbatch. Anything close, you got it.
That'll work. That'll work.
But anyway, so that's a tennis class. That's not people we know a lot about, but I want to make sure we mention it because we didn't do it when you were in the former communist country of Cuba. So also known as Miami South.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting trip. I'll say that. If I ever go back, I'll spend a lot more time in Havana. I did enjoy a lot of it, but man, I've never had worse food on a trip ever.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe that's sort of like why you probably never said to your lovely wife, "Hey, let's go out for Cuban tonight."
Oh, I've gone for Cuban. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well,
But one of our
maybe
favorite
not in
restaurants,
Cuba.
one of our favorite restaurants in DC in our old neighborhood was a Cuban place. So
Yeah, well, like, do they do takeout from other places?
generally no. But if you put fried plantains on anything, it's a good start. So
Well, maybe it was just the resort we were at, but that's
Could've
neither here nor there. So if I offended the Cuban chef, Borshka Jimber, Jumba, Havana, Havana, na na na. I don't know.
understood.
Yeah.
So with that, should we move to dead people?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
There's no good segue. So let's just
No, no.
so
Who did we lose? No big name, I don't
the
think.
Beige Mistress was very busy this week. This is
What?
all
Oh, what'd you do?
we lost three. Janos Rasch,
Mhm.
81-year-old Hungarian basketball player, a member of the 64 Olympics team, passed away
Mhm.
at the age of 81. Imre Vagyoski, won the gold medal in the World Championships in World Championship 1954 in men's canoe sprint. Passed away at the age of 90. And Antal Hetenyi, who Hungarian judoka, competed in the 1972 Summer Olympics, passed at the age of 75. So very, very big week for our Beige Mistress. So just quickly in the world of not necessarily stuff we cover, but just the world in general, Tom Sizemore passed away. Was actually just the next movie he was supposed to do, and he has a bunch coming out this year. Next
Really?
movie he was supposed to do is actually going to be directed by one of my high school classmates, who has his own. He's done 3 or 4 amateur films, and he was very real excited about the new one. He's like, we got an actual Hollywood star to lead it, and it was Tom Sizemore. But Sizemore passed at the age of only 61, had all sorts of issues with drugs and alcohol earlier in his life, had a stroke, lingered for a week or so. But yeah, passed at the age of 61. So
Yeah, he went from sort of go-to supporting actor to Dr. Drew in a heartbeat,
yeah.
unfortunately. I'm not trying to be sarcastic on that. That's how I remember that in my head.
But I mean, from 89 to 02, this is like War of the 4th of July, Passenger 57, True Romance, Natural Born Killers, Heat, Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down, Pearl Harbor, and then of course, voice of Sonny Forelli from Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which was probably his last thing before he really got hit everything going really, really bad. But he passed away at the age of 61. Also passing away today, actually. This I posted about it on Twitter. Chaim Topol, who's better known as just Topol. The best known
Oh,
as,
I saw that on your social media. Yeah.
yeah, Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof. He was also, well, I can think of his first name. Columbo is the last name. The buddy of James Bond in crap. Which one was that? Hold on, I'm gonna look it up quickly. He was in Milos Colombo in For Your Eyes Only, one of the best friends of Bond ever.
Mhm.
And of course, Dr. Hans Zarkov from Flash Gordon, that terrible, wonderful, campy movie from 1980. Um, but yeah, he passed away at the age of 87 after a battle with complications from a stroke. So,
Mm.
but one of those ones, like I've watched Fiddler on the Roof a dozen times, if easily in my life. As we used to have I used to not have much to do in northern New Hampshire. We had like three television stations and one radio station. So my parents had a whole bunch of VHS tapes, and I'd watch them over and over when we weren't doing, or I'd just have them on in the background. I was doing other things. And the couple, we had a whole bunch of them that were like double VHS tapes. So it was like How the West Was Won, 10 Commandments, like things I would never want to watch as a kid. The Longest Day, but we did have the double of Fiddler on the Roof, and I basically wore that thing out. So
Never seen
um,
it.
it's really good. I know musicals aren't most people's things, and the life of a Jewish milkman in
Is that what that's about?
Russia is not, who has five daughters, is not necessarily where you think you're going to go, but
Yeah.
there are very few characters from anything who you can identify with. You feel like you know them as a friend by the time they're done, better than Tevye. And Chaim Topol, or just like I said, just known as Topol, played him over 3,500 times between
Different
movies
plays
and
and
stage.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but anyway, just a big one for me. I just wanted
Hmm.
to take a second on that.
You know,
Um,
10 commandments. I like the sequel, 10 more commandments.
yes. No, from History of the World Part 1. I give you these 10 commandments. The third star breaks.
You know, I think I missed my calling though, because now I see there's a show out there called MILF Manor.
Yes, but all the boys they bring in are the sons of the women.
Yeah, and I like and I'm talking to some of my friends like that's the most disgusting thing. And I thought, damn, like 3 years ago I wanted to pitch a show called Who Has Herpes? And basically the same sort of idea, just like after you will go week by week to find out who has herpes after, anyway.
Yeah.
Not that
Anyway,
worse, not much worse.
I suppose that's true.
I hope someone out there, if you're really good at sort of like graphic design, can you sort of like make something just says
Just send it directly to him. I don't need to see it. Couple
Kirk
more
Buchner
people.
is the host of Who's Got Herpes?
Chris Harrison's available. So just sorry. One of the great producers, one of the great directors also passed away. So I just want to go to that quickly. Hugh Hudson, who directed Chariots of Fire, passed away at the age of 86. Walter Mirisch, who won the Academy Award for producer of In the Heat of the Night, which was one of the most important movies of all time,
Great
passed
movie.
away at the age
That one
of
I've seen a couple times.
yeah, passed away at the age of 101.
Ooh.
I also used to watch In the Heat of the Night, the TV show with Carol O'Connor when I was a kid.
Yeah, I couldn't watch that. I mean, you're Archie Bunker. That's
But see, I was too young to know he was Archie Bunker.
yeah. Well,
Like,
that's
I'm
where my
just too
age
young
is
for
going.
him. Yeah, I'm just too young for him to know he was Archie Bunker. First thing I knew him as legitimately was the sheriff from In the Heat of the Night. So it's just like the first time I knew Andy Griffith was as a Matlock. I didn't know him as Andy Griffith. So one other famous person I want to put out here, Emil Gottlish passed away on Valentine's Day. That's how far back we are. But he invented the meningitis vaccine in 1970. So great scientist, passed away at the age of 88. All right, going back to the stuff we care about.
Currently, there's a lot of people denying his vax, but anyway.
That is true. All right, so the world of football, we lost Charlie Ferguson, two-time AFL champion, AFL All-Star tight end for the Buffalo Bills. He started with the Cleveland Browns and Vikings and then switched over to the AFL. He passed away at the age of 83. He was a member of both the 64 and 65 Bills championship teams. Yes, the Bills have won championships.
You just channeled your inner Vinny the way you just sort of like built that up.
Thank you.
I mean that in a good way, Vinny Lospanu. So
I learned. I know you did. I learned from watching him.
Yeah. I'm saying that for the other people. I knew you knew what I meant. But yes, Vinny, the co-host, Vinny makes the co-host. It's his damn show. Vinny makes the Hall of Fame case for it. So,
from the world of the Olympics, we lost Ken Money, who was Canadian Olympic high jumper, but also published over 100 science articles and authored 6 different topics in the World Book Encyclopedia, working at the Defense and Civil Institute of Environmental Medicine in Toronto. Oh, by the way, he was also a Canadian astronaut. But other than that, what did he do with his life?
Well, okay, the first 2 parts, if he was a Canadian Olympian back then, A, he didn't win. B,
he finished fifth in the high jump in 1956.
Okay. And B, it sounds like he just did Wikipedia edits. The astronaut thing's pretty cool.
Fair enough. Whatever. Yeah. So I was trying to be nice to give you.
We don't have a lot of astronauts. It's actually pretty damn cool.
Yeah. But he was 88 years old.
We always kept talking about, like when I was a kid, it's like, oh, we did the space arm. Whatever the hell that meant.
He did get the Meritorious Service Cross from Canada. So
yeah.
And Americans, we had lost Greg Foster, hurdler, only person to win 3 consecutive 110-meter hurdle titles in his career. So 83, 87, 91. Finished second in the Olympics in 84. But one of the great hurdlers in American history. He suffered from amyloidosis, which is a heart disease for like most of the last decade. But he passed from that at the age of 64.
Hurdling's so much fun to watch, just when they have that angle, that perfect angle.
I tried it in high school and I just could not.
You're not much taller than me. That couldn't have worked out.
It wasn't good. Also passed away. We've had quite a few of these pass away recently. Pat McCormick passed away at the age of 92. Won diving events in 52 and 56 Summer Olympics. Second ever woman to win the James E. Sullivan Award. We've had a lot of Sullivan Award winners pass away in the last year or so.
Which is the amateur award, right?
Correct.
For amateur, yeah. Okay. That's a pretty big deal, yeah.
But she won 2 golds in Helsinki in both springboard and platform, and in Melbourne in springboard and platform, as well as golds in the Pan American Games in 51 and 55. So gold and silver in 51 and 2 golds again in 55.
Yeah, we looked at her as a possible nominee.
Yes.
For United States Athletic Hall. www.nothalloffame.com/USA.
Yep. She is a member of the International Swimming Hall of Fame and actually appeared on an episode of To Tell the Truth and You Bet Your Life back in the 50s, which were big things where they brought people in who people didn't necessarily know who did cool things. But she passed away, like I said, at the age of 92. From the world of boxing, we lost International Boxing Hall of Fame matchmaker, publicist, and promoter Bob Goodman at the age of 83. Spent 25 years with Don King Productions, many capacities in there. But he was son of Murray Goodman, who's also in the National Boxing Hall of Fame, and was the vice president matchmaker for Madison Square Garden from 85 to 94. From world of horse racing, we lost American Thoroughbred Horse Hall of Fame thoroughbred horse trainer John Veach, who had, at the age of 77, who had 410 career wins,
Wow,
and was
a lot.
inducted 2007 to the Hall of Fame. His big horses that he had were Aladar, which is one I actually know, Before Dawn, Brian's Time, Devona Dale, R. Mims, Proud Truth, and Sunshine Forever were the biggest ones they had. But yeah, 410 career wins in his career.
Those all sound like movies starring Kristen Stewart.
Pretty sure Aladar is an Ishtar character.
I gotta watch that movie. I've never seen it.
It's not good. Also passed away Don Blackburn, who was the middling hockey player for the Bruins, Flyers, Rangers, Islanders, North Stars, and Whalers, playing from 59 to 76. He played a long time, but more importantly, he was the first ever coach of the Hartford Whalers when they joined the NHL. Because he was in that position from 76 through 81, and they joined the NHL in 79.
You got Gordie Howe on that team. Okay, what do you get sell Gordie Howe? Nothing.
Nothing.
Like even at the end when Gordie's like 51, you're like,
I mean, yeah, Gordie Howe is older than him too.
He would had to have been.
Yeah, Blackburn was only 84 when he passed. So, but yeah, he's Don Blackburn passed away at the age of 84.
Just imagine that. Yes, please tell me. I'm Gordie Howe. Please tell me what I should do out there. Please. Anyway.
From the world of baseball, the real Moonlight Graham, Fred Muralewski, passed away at the age of 94, played one inning for the St. Louis Cardinals in the last game of the 1953 season. Played one game, top of the inning in the outfield, was in the batter's on deck circle when the game ended. Had played over 1,000 games in minor league, but only played that one inning in the majors. Passed away at the age of 94. I just like the fact that he was just weird enough. I thought we had to include him. Also passed away Dave Nicholson, a longtime player with the Orioles, White Sox, Astros, and Braves. Passed away at the age of 83. Missed that one. Hold on. There's one more, and I have it out of order. Yeah, I forget it. We'll come back to it other ways. Everyone else basically is from music with one exception. Actually, we'll get the exception out of the way. Jerry Richardson passed away, another owner. It's 3 in the last couple weeks. Owner of the Carolina Panthers, also played for the Baltimore Colts and was a member of their 1959 NFL championship team. Played 22 games in the NFL. But he passed away at the age of 86. All right, I think everyone else I have. Oh, one more. Sorry. Gene Fout passed away. I always bring these folks up when they pass away. Possibly the greatest pitcher in the history of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League.
Oh, there's still some left.
She passed at the age of 97.
Okay.
2-time Player of the Year award winner in 51 and 53. 4-time All-Star, 2-time champion, 6 playoffs appearance, 2-time Triple Crown pitching winner, all-time leader in the league in ERA, second all-time in wins, 3-time leader in wins, strikeouts, and ERA, single season leader in shutouts, 3 20-win seasons, 2 perfect games, and 2 other no-hitters. So she did pretty well.
Of course, she did that all against women, so
Yeah, well, yeah, that's clearly the problem. Her career winning percentage, hold on. I saw this earlier and I lost it. I saw it. She one season, there were multiple seasons she had over 850 as a winning percentage. So she went 100. Oh, it was lower than that. So she went 140 and 64 in 235 games with a career ERA of 1.23.
Pretty good.
And a whip of 0.94.
That's my favorite stat that didn't exist when I was a kid. Like, how did we not think of that? That and OPS.
Yeah. So only a 203 hitter, but not bad. So, but she passed at the age of 97. There aren't that many of those folks left. So I want to make sure we get her
Oh,
in there.
no, it can't be many.
All right. There's the other baseball player, but we're going to skip that one. Everyone else is pretty much from music. So Spot, born Glenn Michael Lockett, one of the great producers in punk, passed away at the age of, let me do this math, 72. Did albums for Black Flag, The Minutemen, Meat Puppets, Husker Du, Misfits, Descendants, and others.
Nice list.
Yep. From one of the founding members of the Oak Ridge Boys, sang their lead singer from 53 to 56, the original one, Calvin Newton, passed away at the age of 93. Started as a gospel singer, ended up after he left the Oak Ridge Boys, becoming like incredibly involved in crime and spending a ton of time in jail for theft, counterfeiting, and drug offenses, and then returned to the gospel community late in life. But yeah, he was 94 years old. Also passing away, Robert Hamer, member of the two-man bands Barnes and Barnes, under the stage name of Artie Barnes. They are best known for their 1978 novelty song "Fish Heads."
Oh, yeah, I know. I remember that one.
So he actually wrote that song. But he died 2 days after his 69th birthday. Also lost founding member of Leonard Skinner, Gary Rossington, passed.
Last one.
Yep, at the age of 71. Cause of death was not revealed, but he did have a heart attack back in 2015 and had emergency heart surgery back in 2021. So you can figure probably, I mean, none of those guys lived very healthy lives. But I mean, his slide guitar work in Freebird may be among the most famous slide guitar work of all time. But he was 71 years old. From Pulp, you know the band Pulp?
Very well, yeah.
Longtime bassist Steve Mackey passed away suddenly. He was sick for a couple months here, but he passed away at the age of, hold on a second, 56 only. He was also with the Cavemen and Trolley Dog Shag, neither whom I know, but spent most of his career as the principal bassist of Pulp. Also the original bass player of Country Joe and the Fish, Bruce Barthel, passed away at the age of 70. Let me do math. 75. They don't have why he or what he passed from. From the band Sea Level, which was a Greg Allman joint. Davis Causey passed away at the age of 74. But they did all sorts of stuff, with funk and blues and Latin music and things along those lines. Also passing, David Lindley, founded the band El Rayo X and was one of those guys who's worked with everybody again. Jackson Brown, Linda Ronstadt, Ryan Cooter, Bonnie Raitt, Warren Zevon, Curtis Mayfield, Donnie Parton, Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, Toto, Rod Stewart, Joe Walsh, Graham Nash, David Crosby, James Taylor, Dan Fogelberg, Ben Harper. It's kind of crazy. Other than that, nobody knew how good he was. But he played with a ton of people on a ton of different albums. And some, he was on Atlantic Crossing and A Night on the Town with Rod Stewart. We're talking stuff way back and things along those lines. But he passed away, like I said, at the age of 78. I only got a couple more here. Michael Rhodes, American bass player, another session artist. Played with a whole bunch of people, mostly out of Nashville: Winona Judd, Steve Winwood, Dixie Chicks, Reba McEntire, Hank Williams, Roseanne Cashman, Skill, Tucker, Dolly Parton, all those people. A member of the Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum, which is also out of Nashville. Passed from pancreatic cancer.
Ooh.
at the age of 69. I did miss one sportscaster I do want to mention quickly. Dave Wills, the man for the Tampa Bay Rays, passed away only at the age of 58.
Oh, so young.
Yeah. Let me see what his he had a heart condition called supraventricular tachycardia. And missed the last 2 weeks of the Rays regular season, but returned for the wild card series in the playoffs. Died in his sleep after covering the Rays Yankees spring training game.
Mm.
And finally, the biggest name we lost this week after all that stuff, Wayne Shorter passed. The jazz saxophonist, composer, Miles Davis's, I don't want to say second, but might as well call him Miles Davis. Like Miles Davis is a sax player, put it that way.
Not really an insult though, is it? Because Miles is Miles.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right. Remember Weather Report with Miles Davis and Joe Zanowil and Miroslav Vitas, Vitas, excuse me, for many, many years. Toured with Carlos Santana for a while. Just one of the great saxophone players, one of the great names remaining in sax music at this point. Won multiple awards, Grammys. I'm trying to see how many Grammys he won. He also won a Miles Davis Award, a Lifetime Achievement, which makes sense, which is Montreal Jazz Festival's award. But he won, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He won 12 Grammys during his time, which is pretty good. So, Wayne Shorter was 89 years old. That's all I got.
Okay, so
they're more than normal because you've been gone and I didn't get to everybody from a couple weeks
ago. Yeah, no, for sure. So next section is elevator up, elevator down, where I look at the past week and say who has
shot themselves out of the hall.
Well, he's not arrested.
Elevator up, elevator down.
Well, it's not just him.
They let him go, so that's elevator down. And okay, let's just say he's completely innocent of everything. It doesn't help, sure. And that's Sean Kemp.
Yeah.
Sean Kemp I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. I mean, you know this sometimes, well, not sometimes. You always know this better than I do. But six-time All-Star who's never been nominated as a finalist, I don't believe, which I've always found a little curious.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'll double check here, but I'm 97% sure that is true.
And Kemp, for those of us who remember, there was a time, like in the 90s where he was among the 3 biggest names in basketball. The Rain Man was a really, really big deal. Seattle was really good. And I always wondered, if Michael Jordan didn't exist, how many other Hall of Famers do we have? Sean Kemp would have been a champion. He would have won. He would have won that. Karl Malone's a Hall of Famer, but he would have won a title.
Gary Payton would have a title.
Right. Well, Gary Payton did with Miami, but
that's true. I forgot about that. I always forget about that Miami team. That was a conglomeration of everybody else's guys.
Right. So, but Kemp was really, really good. Bit troubled. He created the term baby mama before we knew what that was. Because I remember the first time I heard he's got 6 kids with 5 different moms. Like, what the hell? And then everyone else in the NBA said, "Hold my beer."
And several NFL players as well.
Right. But he was really, really good. Maybe if he would have kept his weight under control, that would be he would be already. So, but yet Kemp, for whatever reason, has never even been a finalist. And I think there are some players who sort of, I don't know how they've been finalists and Kemp hasn't. Maybe I've answered it right there with what I've just said, but I don't know what's going to transpire.
His Cleveland Cavalier years didn't help.
He did get a sixth All-Star as a cap, if I remember correctly.
That might be
Yeah,
true.
but still, you're right. I mean, like, if Tim Hardaway's in the Basketball Hall of Fame, if that's our bar, Kemp, from what the way I remember it, and people please jump in here. I don't know, but for me, he's a very curious omission as even a finalist. This doesn't help. I don't know whether right now he's innocent. He was what was he, arrested and then released?
Correct.
And I think the joke going around when I sort of like posted that is over down. Glenn Pulowski says, "Go to Dreams," says, "So like, but was that in a limo?" So just Google that, and it's very funny. We promise you that it is.
I wish I had adjusted what I said. You said, is he going elevator down? I said, I think he's taking the stairs. I don't think they'll let him on the elevator, but he's actually taking this. I thought he was taking the stairs head first. He's now just taking the stairs.
Yeah.
By the way, that 95-96 Sonics team, yeah, Gary Payton, Detlef Schrempf, and Kemp, but also like Hersey Hawkins, Nate McMillan, Sleepy Sam Perkins, a rookie Eric Snow, David Wingate was pretty good. Frank Brakowski, remember him?
I do.
Yeah, that was an interesting team.
Shrimp was good, was really good, and then a later Sonic had one of the greatest lines in a movie. The X-Man, right. Xavier Daniel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Say it.
From Singles, where the guy, who is it? Campbell Scott, that character, is having sex, and it was with Kira Sedgwick, and she's saying, "So what are you thinking?" And then basically it's just like the X-Man just talking about like the game that he had. You know, you got to do solo team, and remember, Steve, don't come.
Fair enough.
Yes.
So, for me, Detlef Schrempf, by the way, also never been nominated for the Basketball Hall.
He's not. Very, very good player too.
Yeah, but like just with how international stuff is brought up, I'm just a little surprised Schrempf isn't someone who's at least been thought of at some point. I mean, Dino Raja is in the Hall of Fame, and I think everybody would take Schrempf before Dino Raja.
Everybody.
Outside of Dino Raja's immediate family.
Not even close. So he's an elevator down, but with a bit of an asterisk, because I don't know how this is going to play out. But for whatever reason, he's not thought of. This doesn't help. My other one is sort of tying in with somebody who's not even really worth talking about for a Hall of Fame yet because he's still so young. But again, hold my beer. It's Ja Morant.
Yeah.
What? Since we talked, he decided that he didn't know who Gilbert Arenas was. And decided that he was going to like flash his gun on Instagram. Whatever he's going through, hopefully he's young enough to turn this around. He's one of the most exciting players to watch. I love watching this guy. But tying in with what you said last week, he's imploding the Grizz.
Well, it's not just him, but like they're doing it as like a unit. It's weird.
Sure, but he's still the top guy.
Yeah, yeah, true. Do you hear? I'm not the biggest Draymond Green guy, but you hear Draymond Green just rip Dylan Brooks apart?
No, what do you say?
He's like, Dylan Brooks is like, I don't like Draymond's game. I don't even know what he does. Everything is like, guy talks a lot of stuff. He's like, yeah, Draymond talks too much. He's like, well, you win 4 championships, you can talk. You make 9 All-Star games, you can talk. You win a Defensive Player of the Year award, you can talk. He just keeps going all those things. He's like, you done none of that. Shut the hell up, basically. And like Draymond just kept going step by step by step. I'm like, there's no comeback for this, Mr. Brooks.
Not at this stage.
Yeah. So we'll see. Like the implosion of the Grizzlies is sad because that team was a lot of fun. Like I said last year they were super duper fun.
Somewhere there's Jordan Poole saying, it's not worth it.
Yeah. You know, kidding. Yeah, I don't. This NBA title is wide open, by the way.
It really is. I don't know who's going to come out of the West. I know Denver's sort of leading by quite a bit, and I was sort of like defending Jokic, but I mean, again, I don't know. I've got no clue. You've got flaws in every single team that's a contender.
Mhm.
Every
100%.
single one.
Yeah.
And the NHL. I mean, I know everyone's saying the Bruins are going to run away with it, but I'm not sold on your goalies, even though one's going to be a Vezina winner. He's never been there. And playoff hockey's
Okay.
different. It's different.
Okay.
Okay, let me have this because I want to be invested.
Like, you want to say something about the Bruins having trouble, whatever. I mean, they lost tonight. We'll get into that later.
Did they lose
They
tonight?
lost.
I mean, I saw the okay when I was out before because where I can watch that game, they were up 2-0.
Yeah. No, well, the second goal got wiped off for, I don't know for
Oh,
what.
okay.
The second goal went away and they end up losing 3-2.
I was enjoying my veal parmesan, but anyway.
Yeah, it's funny because the Bruins had the chance to win to qualify for the playoffs tonight.
Mm-hmm.
If they had won and 2 out of the 3, the Islanders, Senators, and Sabres lost. The Sabres got crushed 8-3. The Islanders pulled it out in overtime, and Senators are in Seattle, so they probably started since we started talking.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if you want to say the Bruins have a problem, sure, but it's not going to be the goalkeeping.
I didn't say that a problem. I said that it's a question. I didn't say that, but that's how I meant to say it.
I
It's a
mean,
question. I think you've got the best duo right now in Olmark and Swayman. I truly believe that.
but
But I also have two. We also have two people who've never been here.
well, Swayman's at least been there before. So he was there last year, and they went to 7 games against Carolina. But the 4 teams that we could play, presuming we get through the first round, but I'm not that first round thing. If it's the Sabres, their goaltending's terrible. Jerry's not been good for Pittsburgh. Like, you go through all of them, there's none of the whatever that team we're gonna play is so scary. The Lightning stopped playing defense 3 weeks ago. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're worried about Gips in the playoffs, the Maple Leafs, like,
Oh, just beat the Maple Leafs. Just make me happy.
yeah, but I mean, like, the Bruins own the Maple Leafs like the Celtics own the Sixers. Like, when it's just we just own them. So I'm not something concerned. I'm concerned we get to the conference final, but if we lose to Carolina in the conference final, okay. You know what I mean? That sucks, but Carolina's a freaking good team. They're the second best team in hockey. The best team in hockey loses the second best team in hockey. Not a big deal. I'm just not that concerned yet. They've lost one of their last 11 games. Or I guess
Fair
2 of
enough.
them.
I'm just trying to give myself some reason to think that this to get invested.
Hey, the Western Conference playoffs, a long time for the Jets are going to have to play them. So,
Well, right now, the way they've been playing, but anyway.
yeah, that West is not anywhere as good. But anyway, so is there anyone else up or down for you?
No, those were my two. Just a quick thing on Julius Randle's playing very, very good basketball. So I used him as an elevator up before. I just sort of like want to mention that. I've been very impressed with I don't want to call it a bounce back year, but he's eclipsing what he did 2 years ago in a breakout.
Fair enough.
So I thought, I mean, I don't think he's anywhere close at this point.
That next team is dangerous.
They are. So I thought that he was sort of like worth a bit of a mention. Not that he's really done anything in the last while other than have his best season to date.
Yeah, I will say I'm going to double check this out because I haven't actually looked at the standings in like a week. But is that 4-5 game? It's looking like it's going to be Cleveland and New York, right?
Right now, that's how.
Yeah, Cleveland and the Knicks. Whoever wins that, whoever's the 1 seed, neither of those teams do you really want to play in that second round.
I'd be more afraid of Cleveland personally, but
I think it depends on the matchup. I mean, I think Cleveland's a better team. I agree. But I mean, Cleveland's tied with the Celtics for best point differential in the league. So, I mean, that's a better team. The Celtics are going to have to probably face them until the conference championship if they get there. But like, I'm just saying that sometimes there's a 4-5 matchup. Like, it doesn't really matter. One's going to dominate them. I don't think if I'm Celtics or Milwaukee, I want to play either Cleveland or the Knicks in that second round.
Milwaukee. Okay, so we close off with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Evan's weekly roundup.
So we're doing the bad, the ugly, and the good this week.
All right.
So going back to that Bruins Oilers game tonight that the Bruins lost. Do you know what that was available on the United States?
Nope.
Hulu Plus, not just Hulu, Hulu Plus
Hmm.
and Nessun Plus. So the
Nessun Plus?
Nessun Plus, which is New England Sports Network.
Well, I know what that is, but I didn't know there was a plus for a regional sports network.
Nobody does, and that's part of the problem. Like, do you know where the Bruins, the Red Sox spring training game was today?
No.
Also on a streaming service. So there were 2 sporting events for Boston sports fans, and if you had just normal access, unless you're buying every single thing or went to a bar, you couldn't see them. We're in a situation, particularly with the regional sports networks, a bunch of them collapsing with the way things are going, that it's almost to the point where it's too hard to find your games. They're making it more and more difficult for everything. I didn't watch a single Thursday night football game this year because I don't know where they were.
Okay, I'm gonna give you my football package.
Okay,
so
like
also too, I have Hulu Plus.
Oh, good for you.
But I have it. Where I'm going with this is I can hook you up on that.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. I don't want you to commit any international felonies on.
Oh, please! I've already sort of admitted how I never watch any. Like that's the one stuff I normally do, but usually I pirate everything else except for my sports because it's too damn important.
What else do you think you were doing in Barbados other than pirating stuff?
Because what was I? I was a pirate of.
You're a pirate of
Penzance.
You are the very model of a modern major general. That's Pirates of Penzance, right?
I don't know. Yeah. I just know that exists.
I am the very model of a modern major general, but yeah, that's a really fast one. Anyway, we're way off topic. The moral of the story is there's some problems with this having so much stuff on streaming services and streaming services being so spread out that it's going to be impossible for people to watch games. It would be ridiculous if I'm actually kind of glad the Bruins lost tonight because I'd like to be able to see them win. Like they're also, I guess, an ESPN Plus as well if you end up signing up for that. But put them on like an alternate station on something. It's going to be a problem going forward. As I tweeted about this, or like NHL was like, hey, they could do it today. I'm like, if they do that, nobody's gonna be able to see them. Congratulations, NHL. You've hidden all your games. Like you're watching Pasternak and McDavid, the top 2 goal scorers in the league, and you can't get it on a main package, even locally.
Unless you're in a Winnipeg Italian restaurant, and then it's right there in the screen.
100%.
Yes.
So it's just that it's a problem going forward, and a lot of these regional sports networks are collapsing. All the leagues have to deal with this, but don't do this.
Why are they collapsing?
Maybe it's streaming. I'm not sure. But there are a couple of them that are going out right now. They're talking about that with the. There's supposed to be a big bump of the salary cap in the NHL, not next season, but the season after. But because the players deferred some of their salary during COVID and everything else, and it all comes back 2 years from now. But there's big problems with several regional packages are collapsing.
It's all coming to roost. Gotcha.
It's all coming to roost.
Okay. All right.
Anyway,
that's a really good one. Are you closing with ugly or good?
Closing with good, because it's thank you to a couple people retiring. But ugly, this whole Michael Irvin thing that's going on, like. So the story, for those who don't know, Irvin was at a bar at the Marriott Hotel in Phoenix and was accused by a female hotel staff of inappropriate behavior.
During the Super Bowl, was it not?
It was right before the Super Bowl. He was taken off the ESPN broadcast, basically demoted while this is all going on. Didn't get the benefit of the doubt. because he's Michael Irvin.
Which is
Which
fair.
is
He's
dumb.
got a track record.
I understand. The hotel has not given the video, has not made the video available for the defense to actually go through. They've only let the defense attorney see it. And he is countersuing for $100 million against the hotel, saying that he did nothing wrong. We don't have the actual video footage. There is some video footage, but the video footage that we have seen is apparently before what supposedly happened, because it's the interaction in the bar, and then apparently what bad happened was on its way to the elevator from the bar. But we've seen some of the bar stuff. But they had interviews with all the people in that video, and literally all of them were like, "Yeah, we have no idea what this woman's talking about." And he then said that this was basically a modern lynching of a black man. That other people believed the white woman, like Emmett Till, who would still might be alive. That's not that long ago. He'd be in his 80s. But this is like one white woman got Emmett Till hung, who later recanted much later in life, right?
Irvin's an easy target.
Correct.
Not
and that
necessarily because he's
that
black.
You wanted a payday. Now, I don't know what happened. We
Right.
do not have all the facts. I will say, if Irvin is lying, that was going way out on the limb. That's going out in the plank and starting to saw behind you if he's lying, right? If he's telling the truth and there's nothing there, this is a major problem for Marriott, particularly if they're withholding the evidence as the defense claims. This has an opportunity to get very, very ugly.
Okay, so you're the legal guy. What's their end game to do this? Why would they hold back?
Because they don't want anyone to see it. They're hoping they can figure out a way to make it go away, generally.
Yeah, but if you're hiding something and you're the hotel, like, unless it's one of your staff or something. But even then, I mean, like, I don't know, unless it's something colossal. I can't figure it out, frankly.
I can't figure it out either. I don't fully get it. I mean, we just saw what happened. We've seen what happened with Fox News in the Dominion lawsuit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Normally Fox would try and settle with Dominion, but Dominion was out for blood because they were completely defamed by people, from what we know from the evidence that's been released, by people who knew they were lying. And Dominion doesn't even care about the money as much as they care about the reckoning for what happened. This has the opportunity maybe to be a reckoning on the back end. I just don't know what it is. I don't get it, but it has the opportunity to get very, very ugly. As soon as modern lynching comes into the vernacular, there's not very much way to back off that step. So we shall see exactly what happens. And it makes ESPN and everybody else look bad too for not going into it, doing enough before demoting him, doing whatever.
I'll say this. As long as Jackson Mahomes is now off of any kind of social media, my God, what a douche.
That dude is a douche, 100%.
Completely.
He's a douche too. I had a kid who I went to high school with who I will not say his name. All my friends will know. But he was such a tool. He was greater than a tool. We actually just called him Box because he's the whole box of tools.
Mm-hmm.
That Jackson Mahomes is a box.
Can't stand that kid. All right, let's close with something good. We have a couple people who are calling it a career.
Yep. We talked very briefly about the basketball tournament coming through. Two of the greats in college basketball, one of whom I know a little bit, are calling it quits. We'll start with the bigger name, and that is Jim Boeheim. Jim Boeheim,
yeah, Syracuse.
47 years as a head coach of Syracuse. He's 78 years old. He's retiring. He started at 31. He has had 102, I believe, wins forfeited. Even without that, he has the second most wins all time. If he had them, he'd still have the second most wins. Coach K is way out in front of everybody. Mm-hmm. But Boeheim is second winningest coach. And there have been a lot of coaches in college basketball history, and stepping down, lost on a buzzer beater in the 8-9 game in the ACC tournament. But yeah, just anything to say about Jim Boeheim?
No, just one of the biggest names, God, ever since I can remember. And 47 years. I mean, Syracuse too. I mean, I remember a lot of really good Syracuse teams back when you could watch when stuff we talked about streaming earlier, right? So, when you're living in the Toronto area, you pretty much get what you get. When you were a teen or in your early 20s, and a lot of it was a lot of Syracuse games just because we would get Buffalo feeds like off CBS. So, I've watched quite a few Syracuse games through the years. National champ. Was he only the one-time champion, or did Syracuse?
Yeah, Syracuse won the one time.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that a school in upstate New York won it all, because hate to break this to you guys in upstate New York, Syracuse, not a destination.
No, it is not.
Unless you're a sports broadcasting person, right? And you don't feel like going to Northwestern. Syracuse, the Harvard of upstate New York, although that's probably Cornell, is a tough place to imagine that a powerhouse would be built. And they were 100% a powerhouse for decades. Not as much recently, but for decades, absolutely a powerhouse. So,
City of Syracuse is barely the Syracuse of upstate New York.
Syracuse is the Syracuse of upstate New York. That's true. But yeah, good for him in retiring. Someone who's not retiring, but just stepping down, like I said, I know a little bit. Mike Bray at Notre Dame was 483 and 280 at Notre Dame as the coach. He started with an 0-1 and finished this last year. They had a terrible team this year. They're 11 and 21, 3 and 17 in the ACC. But took Notre Dame to won the ACC conference tournament back in 2014, 2015. Took his team to the Elite Eight back-to-back years in 15 and 16. Just Notre Dame went down when he got there, and he rebounded them big time after taking, he was the head coach of Delaware for 5 years before that. He's only 63, which I know is a time a lot of people retire. I would not be surprised to see Bray surface someplace else, maybe a mid-major as opposed to a big school. But just a class guy all around. I met him back in 2005. Of course, there's a very good relationship with my brother, who was a play-by-play announcer for his entire time, except for the last couple of years at Notre Dame. My brother is sad he couldn't be there for the last game because he's on that 111-day cruise. They're in Thailand. I can't remember the name of the town right now, but they're in Thailand right now. But yeah,
just you better not spend one night in Bangkok. It might make a hard man humble.
The bars are temples, but the drinks ain't free, right? Greatest song ever about chess.
Yeah, that's written by an ABBA member. We have to put that qualifier.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Murray Head. But anyway, but just Godspeed to him. I hope wherever he lands, he's happy. It just ran its course in South Bend. They needed new blood. He understood that. He stepped down earlier, knowing that it was going to be over. I don't know if the school let him do that. They told him he was going to be gone, and he made whatever it was. I'm not privy to it.
And obviously, they respected him enough to let him sort of like do that. I don't want to say on his own terms, but with his head held high. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, 100%.
So no, that's really good. Usually I've got some stuff to promote, but because the last few weeks have been a bit tumultuous for A, being on vacation, and B, things going on at home. Not a whole lot to promote it right now, except we're going to say, Evan and I are going to say, please go vote, www.notanhalloffame.com/USA. And with that, wherever you are, wherever you may be, stay safe, everybody.
Take care.